with Bender.
And I'm here with Sydney, and this is BS Astrology.
What's up, y'all? We are putting together a little weekly forecast for you for February 10th through the 16th, 2025. And we got to tell you, this is the second time that we are filming this because the first time we had absolutely no sound. So the shenanigans continue.
We're feeling a little loopy and silly right now.
A little spicy. So hopefully we'll be able to wrap this up for you and get you what you need to get you going for the week. We are filming this on February 3rd at 4:54 p.m.
We definitely originally elected to do it at a different time.
Completely.
So we're really just winging it right now.
We are living the dream.
We're here. Yeah. We're here. We're queer. We're going to do it.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the features that this week holds for us. We have the moon will be in Cancer to Libra for this week. So just those four signs. Mm-hmm. Wow, my brain. Mars and Jupiter are still in Antisha. So they're still in this kind of like secret ninja conjunction.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Betty. Mars doesn't go direct until February 24th. So we're still in a retrograde Mars situation, which is probably having people feel very like you're not getting a lot done. Betty,
can you go down? Thank you, baby.
Thank you. That's why we brought your bed for you. Let's see what else. We got Jupiter went direct on the 4th of February. It still has to clear all the way to 20 degrees to get where it started when it was going retrograde. So we're still going over old territory.
Mm-hmm.
Uranus went direct on January 30, but it still has to clear about, I think, 3 degrees to get where it started going. So it's still not in clear territory.
Mm-hmm.
Venus just entered Aries on the 3rd, which is complicated because Venus in Aries is ruled by that retrograde Mars in Cancer,
mm-hmm.
also under detriment. She doesn't really like being there. However, she's going to go her own way.
Yeah.
Is what she's doing.
Yeah.
And let's see. Saturn is less than 1 degree from where it started its retrograde period. So it's nearly out of post shadow. So hopefully we'll start to feel some sort of momentum going forward as it pertains to our systems.
Mm-hmm. So definitely when we first filmed this, Sid made a great analogy, which is kind of like horses on a racetrack, but before the gate's been lifted.
Yeah.
Because we have all of these things that just went direct, but we aren't quite feeling that or are about to go direct. We're not quite feeling that forward motion yet. And it really does feel like horses at the gate kind of pawing, getting ready to go, and we're pulling those reins back, but we're not quite ready to go yet. So that's like the vibe that we're bringing to this week, is kind of holding the reins back a little bit.
Yeah. I think this is one of the last weeks before we're just kind of shot out like a rocket, mm-hmm. and things start to change very, very quickly, as if they aren't already. We know that everything about American society. Hey, baby, can you not scratch right now? That would be great.
Okay. You can tell the dogs are sick of our shit right
now. They're sick of us right now. But everything about what's going on in, at least in American life, is things are kind of crumbling and being ripped away in ways that we are unfamiliar with. Mm-hmm. I think that is very much pertaining to Saturn trine Mars, mm-hmm. Being very close together and just working in this flowing, falling away, mm-hmm. cutting kind of aspect that is really removing the limits of how far we thought that this could go.
Yeah.
I don't love it.
No. It's, it's a trine, so it's flowing, but we're talking about a flow between two malefic planets that are in uncomfortable positions. We've got Mars in Cancer, and we've got Saturn in Pisces.
They're not in great condition.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing like the encouragement of bad behavior here. So that's where we are with that.
So,
and things will start moving forward, in a couple weeks. It might feel like a bat shooting out of hell, but I think that after, I don't know about you, but this Mars retrograde, I hate
it so much.
I'm so over it.
I hate it so much.
We're so tired.
Everything around, like, even we've been so good and consistent about filming this, mm-hmm. and like sitting down and making the time and keeping our schedule. Mm-hmm. But everything about recording has had a different mind of its own in terms of getting going. So
yeah, nothing has stayed consistent with the actual technical aspects of this. So yeah, we're just ready. I think that whatever comes after Mars retrograde, I'm ready for it, as long as it doesn't keep feeling like this.
So with
that's where we are.
Let's get into it. We'll try to click through relatively quickly. Let's start with Monday, February 10th. 5:49 a.m. We start with the moon in Cancer, trine Neptune, also trining that north node, kind of pushing us forward into the dream, into the vision, into being a little bit more spiritual, feeling connected. It's hazy, it's lazy, it's dreamy, it's nice. We love that.
Yeah. It's an aspect that has all the best intentions before the rest of the week, which spoiler alert, is a little chaotic. But yeah, this is like probably one of the most gentle transits that we have for the whole week, is that sleepy little moon trine Neptune.
And it's short, right? So moon transits in general are an hour-ish, maybe a couple hours. The moon is slow, maybe 3-4 hours long. So like this energy it's pretty brief. So after the moon in Cancer trines the north node and Neptune, the moon enters Leo.
Yep. And the moon in Leo, it's a little uncomfortable. Leo is much more comfortable in the sun. I'm afraid I'm going to mix it up
with the sun.
Yeah,
we're doing it.
We're getting through this. Basically, Leo loves the spotlight on it. It represents that solar energy that's shining a spotlight on you. Whereas the moon represents more of our internal, our private lives. So when we have Leo there, it's kind of an uncomfortable place for that spotlight to be shown on. Leo, now it's not always a bad thing. I would say Leo moon energy is very creative. It's playful. It can be very inspirational in that way. And
open-hearted,
very open-hearted,
warm, generous, loyal.
Yep.
All of those things. However, if a moon in Leo isn't getting the attention and the affection that it so desires, it throws a tantrum and it turns to drama. So it's me.
It's me, all about me.
Yeah.
So
that's the shadow side. Like we want to make sure that anybody that has a moon in Leo, we still love you, but we hope that you're getting your needs met in all of the ways that you need, so that you don't turn into a tyrant.
Yeah.
Because Leo is also the sign of the king.
Yep.
And kings can very much turn into tyrants should they not be getting what they need.
And we may be entering an age of kings. So, but yeah, and I think it's important to talk about the shadow side of Leo, because as we're moving forward, we're talking about some challenging, later on in the day, there's a challenging moon transit, moon in Leo opposing Pluto. But before we get there, at 11:27 a.m., we've got Mercury in Aquarius squaring Uranus in Taurus at 23 degrees.
Yeah, this is destabilizing. There's some sort of information that is destabilizing, shocking, could be inspirational, depending on how this is operating inside of your life. But I think in terms of like the collective energy, this is some sort of piece of data or conversation, communication, a message, a messenger that is destabilizing. This also could have to do with transportation. Uranus rules over odd aviation like helicopters, and we know what's been in the news the last couple of weeks. So that is kind of an interesting little thing to think about. And then Mercury is also transportation. It is like the cars that we drive and the roads that we're on, and kind of thing. So Mercury squaring Uranus can be some sort of destabilization in terms of our actual ability to travel, to be able to take whatever mode of transportation that we would want to. This could be some sort of weird stop in transit.
Yep, it could be. Yeah, I mean, we're also seeing stops as we're seeing with tariffs. We're literally seeing stops in transportation in terms of transport of goods.
And Mercury is an air sign.
Yep, it is an air sign. We're also seeing a lot of issues with certain people being blocked from travel due to issues with their passports, issues with gender markers on passports. So we're actually seeing a lot of different indications, as well as obviously a lot of stuff happening with aviation in the United States. Just generally,
transportation, just
getting destabilized right now.
This is a destabilizing aspect, and so there's something to that. It'd be really interesting to see what kind of happens there, because it will come more into play in the next few days as well.
Uranus is a really big player this week. And I think that when we see some, we're going to talk about a few different challenging aspects with Uranus, and a lot of it is going to culminate on the day of the full moon in a couple of days. But this is kind of the first rumblings that we get of what's coming up. This is where you first start to hear the cracks of destabilization, is right here at this
as if we haven't been hearing a ton of them. And also, granted, Uranus did just go direct. So what that means is that as Uranus was stationing direct, Uranus gets really powerful and loud. And so all of these kind of destabilization things that have been happening around, like literally the foundations of like our money and earth and currency, like all of that, the Taurian things, our stability, our sense of security are being ruptured right now. So this just kind of calls into that energy more, with Mercury coming in squaring it. Yeah,
absolutely. As far as your personal life and what's happening with you that day, definitely just be careful about taking transportation. Double check your brakes, make sure you've got an oil change. And as with all things Mercury, just being cautious of communication. Be aware of unusual or surprising information that you may receive, because we're going to continue to hear the echoes of whatever information you're receiving today over the next several days. So, So that's a kind of a big one to kind of just take note of. And that's going to be right around midday on Monday.
Yeah, but that story doesn't complete itself on this day.
Right.
So keep knowing that whatever information comes up, there's an unfolding that will continue over the next few days as well.
Yep.
So later in the day, we come up to about 1:20, let's call it 1:15 p.m., just so it's easy for people. Moon in Leo opposes Pluto in Aquarius. So Moon Pluto aspects are usually some sort of emotional turmoil and drama, and kind of like emotional pain. Moon Pluto opposition is not fun.
No.
It feels really uncomfortable being forced, like, or confronted into going very, very deep.
Especially with oppositions, right? It's kind of like two people sitting opposite from each other at the table, so you're kind of forced to look across the table at what's going on the other side. And we're talking about this Leo Aquarius axis,
me versus we,
and we've been talking a lot over the last couple of weeks about Aquarius and kind of that larger role in society and the roles that we play. Leo kind of represents the other side of that, right? Where you can't have the we without the me, and you can't have the me without the we, right? Community is made up of
a whole bunch of me's. So that we can become a we.
Exactly. So that's kind of the opposition that you see with that. And we're talking about, again, going like really into some emotional depths with that, and kind of having to really look closely.
I also think about like the moon in Leo, if we think about it collectively, is like, if that's the people, and Pluto is this power structure, which is very much right now we're kind of being shown that it is this tech oligarchy, these brogliarchies, people with lots of technology and money and computers and zeros and ones that are basically techocracy, trying to take over a road. Sorry, words are hard right now. But like, this is, the people saying like, actually, we don't want this, whatever this is. And there's some sort of confrontation here.
Right.
An opposition can be violent, emotionally violent. I think this is kind of like an emotionally violent moment where people feel like attacked.
Right. Absolutely. Especially since it's immediately following that Mercury square Uranus, right? We're seeing like that there's the tremor or the crack And then it's almost like
the reaction
the moon opposing Pluto is the reaction to that.
The emotional reaction. So then we go further into the day, 5:20 p.m. We have the moon trine Venus. That's a pretty lovely aspect. It's when, you know, our needs and our values are in harmony, and we're able to kind of see our way forward and how we want to go about getting those things, which could very much have to do with like our own sense of inspiration and also being creative and pioneering and wanting to do our own thing. Say Leo and Aries are very isolated signs, individual signs, I would say. And so this is about
self-focus.
Self-focus. This is very much about like our individuality and being able to like really see our way forward and into how we feel we should be maybe behaving inside of this complex called society. And while this is also happening, it's of note that Mercury is actively, you know, separating from the sun, so its message forward has been renewed because it is just leaving the cazimi. So there's something about this way forward being communicated to us in this new way. And
retrograde Mars still within its trine to Saturn,
and that holds kind of this whole week. So
but that's important to think about when we're thinking about the overall picture, and we're thinking about this very brief little moon trine Venus. It's easy to think of moon trine Venus as just this very nice, lovely, comfortable aspect, and in a lot of ways it is. But with the climate of everything else that's going on, we might find ourselves in a place with this moon trine Venus of just really getting clear with ourselves about how we're feeling about what's going on, and therefore being able to, like you said, kind of creatively determine how we want to move forward and what part we want to play in this. So it's not necessarily just going to be like a sit back and relax kind of moon trine Venus, I don't think, especially with like two very ego-minded fire signs.
This could be a pretty active day.
But I think you'll feel sure about how you feel, right? I think that there's going to be a certainty of how you feel, and the role that you're playing in all this. And again, that plays out with the macro in society, but that also plays into whatever conflicts you're dealing with that day.
Okay, so let's move forward to Tuesday, February 11th. We start 6 a.m. We got the moon in Leo sextile Jupiter and Gemini. This is around 11 degrees. So depending on what's going on with your chart, if you have something around like 3 before and 3 after, so I would say maybe 8 degrees and 15 degrees in fire or air, like you're going to be getting some nice stuff kind of going on with that.
It's early in the morning, but it could be, if you're a person who's up around 6 a.m., this could be a nice way to start your day. It's definitely with that Jupiter and Gemini, it's going to be cerebrally stimulating, so hopefully that's a morning where it feels a little easier to wake up.
I think it's a chatty aspect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like we're just up wanting to tell our stories.
Maybe you had a cool dream you want to tell someone about, kind of thing.
So that's relatively pleasant. We love that. And then 11:30 a.m., Sun in Aquarius square Uranus and Taurus. So now we go back, remembering that there was some sort of message the day before with Mercury square Uranus. And now we have the Sun square Uranus, which is like almost a revealing, and there's a crisis point. The squares are crises. And so the crisis is revealed for us to somehow do something about. These are both, actually not both. These do not gel well together. They're both fixed. One is yin, one is yang. You know, the Sun in Aquarius is like, this is the vision forward, this is the future dream. And Uranus in Taurus is just shaking the foundations of like the earth between us. This is the difference between air and communication and technology, and the simplicity of literally the earth that we can put our hands into and till soil.
Right. Yeah, especially with that air sign squaring with Uranus. I mean, it's definitely, I think it's also bringing questions into what we thought was tangible and what we thought was granted to us. may feel less certain. So again, we're talking about Mercury squaring Uranus the day before. That's kind of like the first crack that you hear. And now we're into Tuesday. We've got Sun square Uranus. That's kind of like you heard the crack yesterday, you look down, you see the crack, right?
Yeah.
So now we're seeing the crack in that foundation.
Yep.
The nice thing is, I guess you could say it's a nice thing, is that the rest of the day's quiet.
Relatively quiet. But I think that there's something to kind of reckon with, right? We're still, the energy holds through. It's not like one day is done and we're like, oh, that's done.
Yeah.
We never have to deal with that again, because that's not how time unfolds,
right?
Unfortunately. But let's leave that alone, because we have a really big, juicy full moon in Leo. And actually, if I think about it, you know, full moons. So the full moon, Wednesday, February 12th, we got a full moon in Leo. So if we just take into consideration what happened with the Sun and Mercury before, we already know that these squares are baked into the new moon, first and foremost. And so the crack and the information has been kind of revealed to us, but now there's like a full blown like illumination, right? A full moon is when you can see you can't, like the darkness doesn't exist in the nighttime right now, because everything is lit up. And so these things come to light for us to be able to do something with them. Either it's to move forward, to release. Full moons are often about release.
It's a climax point.
It is a climax point. It's a boil coming to a head. And so this is also relational with full moons. It's, you know, me versus we, especially for this. So this is still relational no matter what. Even if this isn't necessarily playing out in your personal life, it's playing out collectively. Though it's probably playing out in your personal life too, depending on, you know, where it is.
We've been talking about how, you know, this energy has been impacting us lately, and we're noticing that even in our own personal lives, we're still dealing with kind of more micro examples of kind of community systems that aren't working anymore and are starting to become very destabilized. And that's just like in our personal job, you know, professional lives.
Just wanting to like creatively fix systems in order for them to work better for everybody, instead of just working for one person or one interest, right? There can be something about that, but we should also talk about the other features of this full moon, just so people understand kind of the features, like you're trying out a new car. The features of this full moon are, so there's this T-square with Uranus, right? The sun and the moon are both squaring Uranus. So this is just a destabilizing full moon.
And it's fixed energy, right? So when you have these two immovable fixed forces, the only way you can get them to move is basically by breaking them.
Yeah,
you know,
and Uranus is right there and totally willing to be the hammer that just the cracks happen. To me, that T-square really feels like stones breaking, or like ice breaking, you know, rocks breaking,
and then revealing weird stuff inside.
Actually. We'll see what comes up with. I mean, this full moon in Leo also, to be fully transparent, is deeply hitting our now president number 47's chart. So it'll be interesting to see what comes up, because one of the interesting things about how astrology works is that once somebody is in charge of something, placed in charge or a place of power, their chart becomes the chart of the thing that they're in charge of. So if you become a president of an organization, you're now going to want to pay attention to the president's chart to see what the organization is going through.
Right.
So we know that this full moon is destabilizing for number 47. And so therefore we know that it's destabilizing for our country. We have Mercury is going to be within 3 degrees of the sun. So it's in there too, having its little fun square with Uranus as well. Mars is still trine Saturn within 1 degree. So it's very tight still. This energy is still very much running in the background, just having a heyday. Neptune is still with the North Node in Pisces within 1 degree. So, this is about the dream, but this can also be about the grand mass delusion.
I was going to say it can be about delusions, and it can be that the path forward just isn't clear right now.
Yeah.
It's diluted by the fog of Neptune, and there could be a lot of conflicting visions of how to move forward, which can really muddy the waters a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're seeing with this Neptune hitting the North Node right now. And it's just at the beginning of the North Node's transit through Pisces, right?
Yeah.
We're still just at the beginning of that. So this is definitely like the unfolding story for the node's transit.
Yeah, we're not in clarity yet. We are just in the dream. And not all dreams are worth having. And I think
or just aren't realistic,
or absolutely not realistic. I mean, we have, at least a bifurcation that's happening in the American culture right now between the right and the left, and black and the white. This isn't a gradient thing that's happening right now. We're watching these two very different visions of how to go forward, come head to head. And
again, fixed energy.
And we're now having to watch how they're playing out. We have Pluto sextile Venus within 3 degrees, so it's still very active and baked into this chart. And Pluto Venus, I mean, the sextile is actually kind of lovely. It allows Pluto to kind of do the work of asking Venus to go deeper. Venus in Aries is an independent Venus. Yep. She loves her freedom. She loves to do it on her own, wants it her way. And I think Pluto is asking, like, why? And is it ultimately good for everybody?
Right.
For you to be doing this thing.
Especially with Pluto in Aquarius right now, right? So we have a much more collectively minded Pluto asking this very singularly minded.
It's the pioneer and the revolutionary having a conversation.
And they get along, like
they do.
Aquarius and Aries, they have a nice little sextile together.
For sure.
So they do get along, but it's definitely a conversation happening for sure. So that's kind of the features of our full moon.
Oh no, there's one more thing.
Oh, there's more. Oh God, it's the sad thing.
Well, yeah, there's a few things. So we have Mars square Chiron, which we do not love.
No.
This is a wounding aspect. This also reminds us, take care of your bodies and make sure that the actions that you take are not so self-preserving that you end up hurting yourself.
Yeah. Don't be too self-protective to your own detriment. And that's because we've got Mars still retrograding in Cancer, so we're definitely still moving through what feels familiar, what makes us feel safe, and with that square in Chiron, it's going to be bringing up kind of the wounds that make us feel that way, right? When we're feeling wounded, when we're feeling scared, it's definitely, we're inclined to go to what's familiar and what makes us feel safe.
Yeah.
That Mars square Chiron is definitely going to be asking us, is it really keeping you safe?
I think that's right. And then when I was thinking about the full moon, because I love the moon. I love it. But I ended up looking up the lunar mansion that the moon will be in. And the mansions are where the moon is in the sky across a constellation. The constellation is a mansion for which we can get kind of information about the tenor or the flavor of that particular moon. There's 28 mansions. But the moon is in the 12th lunar mansion called Al-Sarfa. Quote unquote, the changer. So I think that this full moon it's definitely about change. And with Uranus in play, like, it is absolutely about change, like change that we cannot deny, change that we cannot hide from, and that we will all see because it will be revealed. This image of the 12th mansion is a warrior confronting a dragon. So the warrior is the moon in Leo, and the dragon here, from what I can see from this lunation, is the sun in Aquarius. It is the I don't know, the power structure that we're looking at, which Pluto is in Aquarius as well.
Right. And what I was saying to you earlier is how much I had a lot of things to say about this. I love that you brought this up, because first of all, the concept of a dragon, it's this non-human entity.
Yeah.
And we're talking about these forces that are doing such deeply inhumane things. The current structures of power that are now introducing concentration camps in Guantanamo Bay.
These things that have us feel powerless.
Right. And so I think it's really interesting that at this moment you kind of conjured up this image of a warrior fighting a dragon. And the other thing that I thought was really interesting, and we kind of covered it earlier, but it really is that opposition between Leo and Aquarius, right? Because we talk a lot about Betty's having a dream. I don't know if you can hear it, but we've been talking a lot about Aquarius and the larger role in society, and both the positive and the negative sides, or the challenging sides of that. And so when we think about Leo as that singular entity that's kind of going against these big these bigger forces of power, I think it's really important to think about the importance that Leo, or the value that Leo has in whatever goals Aquarius wants to set. And it is that you have to have you kind of have to have that confidence and that belief in yourself and what it is that you're fighting, in order to kind of fight these larger systems.
Put your whole heart in it.
So, and I like that this is hopeful, right? It does, we don't love the idea of having to like go into battle and fight for our lives, but this is not astrological energy that's asking us to just kind of like keel over and take it, right? We're kind of manning our battle stations and getting ready to think about what we, what roles that we individually play in this. And again, we're talking about this in the macro. It also applies to the micro, and whatever systems you might be dealing with in your own life. So
some of the keywords for the 12th lunar mansion are strife, combat, separation, constriction, hindrance of movement, conflict. So it is going into this space in order to fight the dragon of conflict, of separation. I think about all of the people that are of threat of being exiled right now, and like standing up for what our hearts truly believe in. I think is very much a part of this, or like literally having to choose. Do you choose to conform, or are you going to rebel? And are you really rebelling if a whole bunch of other people are rebelling with you?
Right. It's a great question.
We're gonna find out. So, the other notes about full moons are, if you're going to release, you can set your intentions and, do that within a few days of the full moon coming to its culmination. I would say don't do it until after the full moon is like actually hit its full like maximum, which will be at, I think it's early in the morning. 5:53 a.m. So, you wake up and you decide that you want to do some sort of ritual around release. Highly recommend doing that for the next couple of days, just kind of letting that flow through you. And I think there's going to be a lot of energy in the sky. And I don't think it's going to feel very comfy. I think it's going to feel very electric and tender.
I was going to say I'm not suggesting not to release, because I think it's just like you said, it's like a boil about to pop. Like you gotta pop that zit, but
or it'll be popped for you.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's great to do a lot of really intentional release work, and also just be prepared that this is not going to be the most comfortable full moon for release. Even if it's something that needs to be released, even if it's ultimately beneficial, because of that T-square with Uranus, it's just gonna be. It's going to be a hammer hitting rock. That's just what it is.
And even just considering some of the evolutionary astrology principles around Aquarius and Uranus, we're dealing with trauma here. There's a trauma signature kind of baked into this full moon. And so tread with caution and tenderness.
Absolutely.
And try to remain open-hearted so that healing can happen. And so like the fissures aren't ultimately like the worst scars.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because things can get stuck with fixed energy.
Yeah, things really can get stuck with fixed energy, and that's almost why it has to be such a like blunt force kind of trauma, right? And that's the nature of Uranus. Uranus is about just these like sudden changes that kind of shake up our whole world, and that is the very nature.
It's a lightning strike. It is electricity coursing through a ungrounded shoe and knocking the person out of their boots.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It really is.
There's they couldn't have done anything except for been prepared, and even then, maybe it's so much electricity, it still would have knocked them out of their boots.
Right. So definitely look at like, where is Aquarius making some action in your chart? What's happening in your 11th house? Where is Uranus hanging out? If you look at all of those things, it might give you an idea of probably some trauma or some things related to trauma that you've experienced that really has an opportunity to be released at this time. And another nice thing about that is later on the same day that we hit that full moon in Leo, the void of course moon begins at 11:11, and then later in the day, 5:07, the moon enters Virgo as the void of course moon ends. And I really like, especially if we're talking about like trauma and healing, it's nice when Virgo comes into the picture, because Virgo is always a place where you can offer very practical advice.
And Virgo is about healing. The work that Virgo does to separate the wheat from the chaff is in order to heal and perfect something. And so there is a digestion kind of thing. I mean, Virgo is the stomach, right? And so, if
all my Virgos with tummy trouble,
tummy issues. But so there's something here about being able to deeply process what has happened, and to hopefully do the self-care that one needs in order to make some better plans moving forward.
Yep, there's gonna be some shakeups on this day. So take that opportunity when moon goes into Virgo later in the evening. Make sure that you are sticking to your healthy routines that help you stay grounded. Make sure you're eating healthy food. I wouldn't recommend emotionally eating on this day. It might not be the best day to go and get that gut burger at a fast food drive-in.
Yeah,
because that'll really come back to bite you.
Get some nice grounding foods.
Yeah, still be comfort food, but like not like nasty,
like a soup.
Stuff. Yeah, like a stew.
Yeah, with like some grounding potatoes, maybe some quinoa and some vegetables, like the things that work well in the system and help you stay literally rooted to the earth.
Maybe just like a little bit of dark chocolate for the happy chemicals.
Yeah, we want people to feel this is kind of trying to restabilize.
Yeah.
In a way.
And that's kind of the gift that Moon and Virgo can bring on this day. It almost feels like it's swooping in at the nick of time to just like deliver you the soup.
It's like earth. Like, do you want to come be in the earth?
Yeah. The earth may have just opened up, but let's pick a side to stand on and stand on it.
Yeah.
So that brings us into Thursday, February 13th.
Yeah.
This is probably the most quiet day of the week. Obviously, all of those overarching things, the Mars trining Saturn, all that
stuff still holds. So in terms of new aspects, because the moon is moving pretty slow, the only Ptolemaic aspect that the moon is going to make, there's going to be some minor ones, some little things kind of adjusting and moving itself in the background all day. But the biggest one is moon in Virgo square Jupiter in Gemini.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is very cerebral.
Yes.
Right? This is definitely a big information and communication day. We've got the two mercurial signs of Virgo and Gemini squaring off.
Yeah.
So it's really just going to be processing a lot of information.
And it's about the way to go forward, because both of those signs are ruled by a Mercury that's in Aquarius.
Right.
So future thinking, future goals, like how to move forward. Yeah, I think this day is just a lot about the mind and also needing to adapt and to siphon or cipher through information. Not all of it's going to be true. We still have Jupiter and Gemini. So we are taking in lots of pieces of information, and we need to get really good about doing that Moon and Virgo thing, which is separating the things that are true versus not true, and being analytical and also critical of the information that's coming our way.
Yeah. So there's there might be a chance of some some arguments or disagreements. Nothing that's going to be really deep or lasting or full of hurt feelings, but definitely just that square that's causing all of that
Friction,
communication is going to
tension.
cause some friction. You know, I'm almost seeing this play out because of the day before with that full moon and that
Yeah.
big breaking point. Thinking about it in more of a micro term, like if you're having issues at work, that full moon in Leo is going to cause some like big dramatic thing to happen. And then you've got this Virgo square Gemini.
What are we going to
happening
do?
on
How are
Thursday.
we going to do it?
All-
Like, what
all
information
the-
do I need
yeah,
in order
all
for
the
me to go
workers
forward?
gossiping together and like shit talking, like who, like the bosses or whoever caused the big blow up the day before. This is the day where all the workers are kind of like gossiping amongst each other about,
Yeah.
and you know, everyone's giving their side on how they think things should have been handled or whatever. That's kind of like the vibe that I get with that.
So
yeah.
have fun.
Yeah, have fun with that. Again, there's still a lot going on, so it's, you know, this isn't overall the most relaxing week, but as far as you know, the days where you're going to maybe get to take a breath before the next moment, this is probably that day, because it really is just that
information.
Yeah, that information thing happening at 3 p.m.
I think it also bears saying that even though there's going to be a lot of information coming through and a lot of like mental processing and stimulation, Lamont, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do anything about it. Right. This could be a day where you literally write down a list of all your options and kind of sit on it for a second.
Yeah.
Like
absolutely.
Really do the best thing that Virgo does, which is like analyzes, but try not to get so deep in it and overdo it so much with that Jupiter influencing it that you become paralyzed with all of the options.
Right.
So like really using that mental process to just kind of really write things out, like write a list and then walk away from it.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a mutable square. So this is absolutely a great day to just let information happen to you rather than feeling like you have to dig deeper for information.
Yeah.
Information is just going to come to you. Just receive it. Yeah, you don't have to ruminate on anything today. You're going to get plenty of information without having to dig for more.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So let's move into
Valentine's Day.
Friday, Venus's day, if we use, you know, the planetary days. So Friday is always about Venus. We have Venus in Aries, which is an independent ass lady.
Yeah.
She is going her own way.
Not the most romantic.
Not the most romantic. We also have the moon is still in Virgo and she's bossy. She's pretty critical. She's not as bossy as she is just critical.
She's just critical. Yeah. And
she's got some complaints.
Yeah.
She would like to tell you about how this could be better, how you didn't make the right reservation
exactly
for our dinner. And so I want to tell you how it should have been.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. Nitpicking at every single thing. Why did you choose to wear that? You have to go and change.
Yeah.
We're going to a nice restaurant kind of vibes. That's very moon in Virgo. And you can think about it in terms of Virgo's relationship with Venus, right?
Which is
not great.
Which is not great. So I think that this is kind of I would call this like an uncomfortable day.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you're going to plan to do like Valentine's Day, wait a day.
Yeah.
We want you to wait a day so that you aren't feeling the pressure of having to like somehow be perfect, or you didn't do enough for your partner didn't do enough for you. Like maybe just go out with your friends, have a couple of margaritas, bitch about something.
Yeah, this is the bitch and stitch day, Galentine's Day, right? Yeah. Find the buds that you like to bitch with, because that's very moon in Virgo, right?
Yeah.
It's not a great day for connecting. I mean, even at the beginning when we see that the moon sextiling with Mars it's early in the morning, but also it's retrograde Mars in Cancer. So it's just
cranky.
Yeah, it's cranky. Maybe didn't sleep very well. And then you're waking up, you know, you're starting your day just before 6 a.m. You are waking up to moon in Virgo opposing Saturn in Pisces. Like that's how you're starting off your Valentine's Day. cranky.
Yeah, you're feeling oppressed
Yeah.
because you weren't able to get all of the things that you wanted done or needed, or you're not feeling heard, listened to, or you just literally have a whole bunch of things on your plate and you feel the weight of the world on your shoulders kind of feeling.
If you have kids, maybe like you were the parent who has chosen to like do the Valentine's Day thing at your kid's school. That would be very Moon and Virgo on Valentine's Day, right? And you're just like, ugh, I don't want to do this for all these freaking kids.
Yeah. I mean, Moon Saturn aspects in general, even if it's a trine, they're a little bit morose, they're a little bit sad. There's some emotional turmoil and upset with that depression aspect.
Or feeling obligated.
Right? Which feeling put upon.
Not super romantic.
Especially with Saturn opposing the moon, it's like feeling put upon by somebody else.
Right.
So
yeah, it's just not the best day to be connecting with your significant other. This is a little bit of a tough Valentine's Day. Yeah. And we're telling, we're offering for you to wait until the next day when the moon goes into Libra. But spoiler alert, the whole weekend is not the best.
Yeah. So moon enters Libra very early in the morning on Saturday, February 15th, 3:45 a.m. So but early. We love a moon in Libra. They need to connect. They want to harmonize. They want to find kind of the beauty and symbiosis with other people. They want to be social.
It's flirtatious. Yeah.
But it is ruled by that Venus in Aries, which
is its sister sign or its oppositional sign.
Right. And also Venus in Aries, though she likes to do it her own way, she's also kind of feeling out of her own depths because she's not at home in Aries. And so she's kind of been asked to do this thing called love and relationship in a different way. So there's kind of a discomfort here. And we have a moon in Libra trine Pluto at 8:45 a.m. So that it kind of allows you to go emotionally deep into your needs.
And it's sexy.
It is.
It's a sexy moment.
It's social.
Yeah. Socially sexy.
Yeah. I mean, moon in Libra is social, and Aquarius is a social sign, even though Pluto is about the depths of society. But there's some sort of there's an affinity between the air signs. It is about communication and connection. And so allow that aspect to give you the opportunity to go deep with your partner. Yeah. Or just in general with your friends, with whatever you're interacting with.
If you want the sweetest possible moment with your significant other on this Valentine's Day weekend, I would recommend going out for a sexy brunch.
Like do Saturday this all morning. In like the morning situation, like have that because
it's gonna get crappy again.
We have the evening. We have 6:19 p.m. Moon in Libra opposes Venus in Aries, so now we're in a relationship aspect. This can be some sort of confrontation with women.
Yep,
with your mother in relationship. Whether it's business partnership, romantic partnership, or best friend kind of thing, the one-on-one things. And this is about values.
Yeah. I mean, we're not just talking about a moon opposing Venus. We're talking about moon in Libra opposing Venus in Aries. We're talking about this axis of self versus other. It is like the relationship axis. So there's definitely going to be any of your interpersonal one-on-one relationships.
Something about values comes up, whether how you want to be in communication with or in partnership with versus the other person's sense of, identity or freedom or vice versa. It could be around the things that you're asking somebody to compromise with you about. There's lots of ways that this could potentially play out. The aspect is pretty short, but it doesn't mean that it won't feel pretty ouchy.
Especially just because it's Valentine's weekend, right? It's ideally a time that you are experiencing that kind of romantic connection if you're in a relationship.
It also has to do with social norms, right? Like Libra is very much about like, this is what's socially PC and correct. And in order for us to all feel like we're a part of this, in the party atmosphere, like that's like, you want the boat. Yeah, you want the Libra to organize your party for you. And then the Venus and Aries comes in and kicks down everything. It's like, I don't like it.
Yeah, Libra made everything aesthetically pleasing, and Aries just like bulldozed through all of that.
Yeah.
So,
but we can also say that sometimes oppositions can make for really sexy times if people are used to using that energy wisely. So that all to say, if you have oppositions in your chart, you've already been working with that energy in your life. And so that kind of conflict coming up might just give you the opportunity to have a sexy resolution.
Yeah. Great evening to find compromise. Again, like maybe it's not the most ideal to have a conversation about compromise on Valentine's weekend, but this is just a great time to have patience and good humor with your partner.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about, your Valentine's plans, it's really best to just kind of go with the flow and be open to those making those compromises.
Yeah,
for sure.
There's just a lot in this whole week about, air and socials, being sociable, compromising, things like that. So I feel like the trend around how to be in compromise and community with one another is very much playing itself out this week. And something really like is thrown up very visibly put to us to have to deal with in our personal lives and also societally. So let's go forward to the last day of this forecast, which is Sunday, February 16th. Really early in the morning, we have Moon Libra trine Jupiter and Gemini. So again, that's information and conversation is flowing. This could just be dreams, right? Because it's so early in the morning, or it's literally in the middle of the night, depending on where you are. Maybe you haven't gone to bed yet and you're having the kind of conversation that allows you to like reconnect, or the type of dream that allows you to reconnect.
Yeah, maybe you'll dream about an ex or something.
But then we go into the afternoon, the last aspect that we're talking about today. It's 2:36 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, if you're really clear, so you are aware. This is the Moon in Libra square that Mars in Cancer that is retrograde. So, this is safety and security versus being sociable and connected with others. And these do not jive together.
And it's a cardinal square, right? So it's not a conflict you can avoid. It's going to be right out there.
You got to take action. You got to
a lot of initiative energy.
Yeah.
And Libra and Cancer, they are both cardinal signs, but they really misunderstand each other in some pretty fundamental ways. Cancer wants to stay in its comfort zone. It wants to stay what it's familiar with. Libra is less concerned about what feels comfortable if it's not pleasant for everybody else around,
and if it doesn't look good.
Oh, definitely if it doesn't look good. So much, it's all about aesthetics and putting on a good face.
Does this look right? And you're like, I want to be safe. And you're like, but that doesn't look good, honey.
Yeah, it's embarrassing for you. You know, that's very Moon in Libra.
And these are both out.
And of course, Cancer does not give a shit about social niceties. It's kind of the big conflict that you're seeing right at the end of the week there. And that could go back to, again, like social what is considered socially acceptable when we're talking about earlier in this Valentine's weekend, Libra and Aries kind of being in contact with each other. We again come back to this Libra and Cancer dynamic where I lost my train of thought. But
I mean, we also should go back a couple of episodes when we were talking about Mars and Cancer, retrograde Mars and Cancer being very much about like this idea of how we protect our homeland,
right?
And the type of like security that our country is trying to like reaffirm for itself. And so like when we have like, this doesn't look good. And when we were talking about the aesthetics, I was like, what we're I'm talking about like our government or the 3 children in trench coats that are now running our government are doing is really, this does not look good for us.
to anyone outside of
we are now, so we're so operating outside of any sort of normal graces in terms of how we negotiate with other places, that we're in uncharted territory.
Libra is also justice minded, right? When we're talking about balance and harmony, we are talking about the sign of justice, and we are witnessing profound injustices happening,
and also open enemies.
And open enemies, yeah, that is such a Venusian thing, right?
You know, so like there could be something here about the collective energy, like us dealing with now, who is our open enemies, because we are making them by the bucket right now, in terms of how we have decided that we are going to be protecting our homeland. And so it'll be interesting to kind of see, you know, how that continues to play out, because Mars in Cancer is not done for at least another week. It doesn't go out of its retrograde, and then we'll start to move forward. So whatever's happening here on this Sunday, and also just in general, these are still kind of rumblings, not fully, like the arrow isn't fully cocked forward yet.
Right. Yeah.
We're going to
still pulling it back.
And making all sorts of choices that are actually, you know, deeply harming our infrastructure.
Basically trying to stick to systems that we've outgrown.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. That's very much a Cancer problem, right?
And also a retrograde thing. We keep going over old territory, and it's not necessarily working for us.
Like old fucking territory. Like World War II
nostalgic territory. Yeah, I mean, we're
and there's definitely, you see like all of the there's definitely an energy of the old guard kind of refusing to give up power, which is also, I think you can see that in a lot of the conversations about what the Democratic Party is doing or not doing.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's like, but the Democrats, why are the Democrats doing anything?
I mean, the moon is also nostalgia.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, Cancer is about nostalgia. That is security, is the old way, the old time. And so, you know, now
so we think. Yeah.
Now we're being confronted again. So,
so we'll see how it goes.
What a week.
But that's going to be what gets you ready for the week after that, is that moon in Libra square Mars in Cancer.
Yeah.
So
rest. There's a lot going on. And that full moon, I think, is going to need some time to really be integrated.
Yeah. So overall vibes of this week, definitely be prepared for a lot of shocking information or some revelations. It could be inspiration.
Yeah.
But just keep in mind that with energy like this, even if it's inspiration, it's going to be hard-earned inspiration, right? It's going to come from something painful or jolting, where you'll kind of be like, oh, I see. That's how it is.
Yeah.
That's what I'm working with here.
And we have to also remember to consistently, in our being forward thinking, to think about what ultimately benefits all of us, and not just one group of people.
Right.
We have to maintain we have to be a little bit better about how we use that Aquarian energy.
Yeah.
And there are people that are not.
Yeah.
But I think
good Aquarian energy is not forcing everyone to homogenize. It's just appreciating that we're all in this together.
Everybody gets to shine together.
Yeah. So definitely some conversations may come up about how you are treating people in that you are in relationship with, or how people are treating you.
Yeah.
And some questions may come up around that. And it's time for us to kind of step out of our comfort zones a little bit.
Yep.
We have to start acknowledging what is no longer serving us. And of course, that moon in Virgo coming in right after that full moon is a nice reminder that through all this, stick with your healthy routines that keep you grounded. That's going to be how we kind of get through some of these challenges.
Some of them.
Potentially some of these traumas is eating well, taking care of your body, all that stuff.
Yeah. And if you need to, talk with anybody about how to kind of navigate the next weeks, months of decisions and energy that you are undergoing in your chart, we are both available for readings. There will be a card at the very end of this, and also inside of various bios and descriptions. So without further ado, we will see you next week Take care of yourselves.
Thanks, guys. Bye.